Hi there, it's Rob Sayer from Onstage Lighting. Welcome to another video on AutoCAD for Theatre. In this video we're going to look at how to quickly navigate around in model space and also how to select objects. Finding a way around in model space obviously is very important because in CAD you're sort of often having to zoom right into things and then to see small detail and zoom back out again. And also you often can get lost when you're working on a drawing, particularly if you're zoomed in a lot. You can easily get lost in the drawing. We're also going to look at how to select objects. In this context it's going to be how to select them so that you can use them to zoom. So anyway, let's go straight on over to AutoCAD then. So in the last video, if you remember, we set up the limits to our model space. If you remember, we checked that we were in model space by looking at the menu, the drop-down menu on my bottom right-hand side of my screen near all of these little snap icons, which is a lot of, on the Mac version, there's lots of little strange icons and grids and stuff. We were definitely in model space. And also, if you remember in the last video, we used the command line to set limits. So we started to type something and AutoCAD picked up what we were going to type. Now, if you start playing around with the typing of stuff and you don't like what you see, so you start typing something incorrectly or something, the quickest way to get out of it is just to hit escape. So if you're in a bit of a muddle and you've started typing something and you don't want it, it's in the middle of an operation. Say I started typing rectangle, and I ended up in rectangle, but actually I don't want to draw a rectangle, so I'm not going to enter these coordinates. The thing to do is hit escape. So we're going to find different ways of navigating using those sorts of tools today. If you remember here, we've got a model space, quite a small model space, and to help us to understand what we're going to do, I'm just going to draw a couple of rectangles. Now, we're going to do rectangles in different ways throughout these videos. But if you want to have a go at drawing some rectangles, there's two things that you can do. You can go over to your main tool sets on the left. I've got them on my left-hand side. Now, with any luck, you have a picture that includes a circle and a rectangle. If you haven't, you might need to just drop down the top arrow at the very top of that toolbox and check that you're in drafting. We're going to be working in 2D for a lot of these videos, so we are just going to be doing some drawing, so we're not going to be doing any modelling or 3D stuff just yet. So we need to be in drafting. Now the thing that looks like a rectangle with the two dots, bottom left-hand corner and top right-hand corner, that is a way of selecting the rectangle tool. And if you do that, you click on the tool, you move over to your drawing, you click, let go with your mouse and move, and click to finish. That's how you draw a rectangle using the sort of what you might call the standard user interface that you might be used to if you're using other drawing programs and stuff like that. The other way to call up a rectangle, and this is the kind of thing we're going to do more as we go along, is we're going to be using the command line. So I'm just got my mouse in the middle of the screen, not doing anything particularly. If I start to type rectangle, you'll see that REC appears, and I can then hit enter, which will then help me to start typing a rectangle. Now we're not going to fill in any details regarding the dimensions of this rectangle, but you can see there's two ways that I created that rectangles. The first one, I went to the menu, and the second one I started typing and it gave me the tool to start drawing. Now the key thing when it comes to selecting objects in AutoCAD is, unlike in some packages where once you've drawn something, say a rectangle, the next click creates another rectangle. So if I draw a small rectangle here, the next click on some CAD packages and some illustration programs will draw you another rectangle. What happens is, by default in AutoCAD, is that it then reverts back to the selection tool. So the next thing you draw is a selecting item, not another rectangle. In order to select things, you can either click on the edge of the item itself. So these items are treated as not having a center to them, they're just lines around the outside. So I have to click on the outside to do it. You can either click on the edge of a particular thing you want to select. Alternatively, you can also draw a box around them when you're in selection tool. So a marquee, you can see that green selection there coming out when I draw it. If you click and move and click, it will select anything that's inside that particular selection. So if I draw a big selection, it will select everything. If I draw a small selection, it will only select the thing that's encompassed by it. Have a bit of a go at selecting that. So the easiest thing to do is to either click or to draw a large rectangle and click as well. It takes a bit of experimentation to get used to how it works. The key thing to remember is that once you've drawn something, for instance a rectangle, the next thing that happens is that the selection tool will come back. So if you want to draw another rectangle, you need to select rectangle again. Obviously if we were to draw a lot of them, there's other ways that we would deal with it. Okay, so now we've drawn our rectangles, we're going to try and move around in the drawing a bit. There's different ways to do this. The first way is that you can use, if you've got a 3-button mouse with a zoom wheel, you can obviously use the zoom wheel to move in and out of the drawing. That's sort of, you know, a quite standard thing. People are used to doing that on other programs as well. You can also use that center wheel, the button on the center wheel, to move around. So I can hold down the center scroll wheel and drag around the drawing. I tend to find that I don't like moving around like that so much with a lot of CAD programs. I tend to use the other option, which is also in AutoCAD as well, which is if you can hold down spacebar, the hand tool comes up. And then you don't actually have to even click and hold anything. You can just, it basically, while you've got spacebar held down, it moves you around the drawing. And then you let go and it lets go again. You can obviously zoom in to particular points. Like for instance, you can put your mouse, fire your mouse to a particular area and then zoom in around the mouse. So like for instance, if I want to go to this center of this rectangle, I can move it in, and it will go to the middle of the rectangle. So that's one way of zooming it. What happens is when you're in CAD, you can get really lost in the detail and stuck in these sorts of things, and you want to just come back out and see the whole of your drawing. Now, if you go into View and you find Zoom itself, you'll find lots of different options, previous zoom, various things. But the one we're looking for is Zoom All or Zoom Extents. So if you go for Zoom All, it will basically fill your window with everything that you've drawn so far. All of those little options under View and Zoom are great, but you can actually do all these things from within the command line itself. So you can start to type things like Zoom, and you hit Zoom, and basically it comes up in the thing. Now don't forget, when you type things in, once they've auto completed into the box, you need to hit Enter. And then you'll get an option to fill in various different attributes depending on what kind of zoom you want. Now if I start typing A, I get a Zoom All. For instance, let's just do that again while I'm zoom back in. Zoom All, Zoom All. Also, similarly, we can have a Zoom Extents, which is the same thing. So Zoom, Enter, Extents, E for Extents, Enter. So there's that way of doing it as well. That's kind of, people who use AutoCAD a lot will use that as a way of going straight to zooming straight out of a document. If not, you can always go to View, Zoom, and All, and it will give you the same thing. So if you get really stuck and really lost and you're right in the middle of something, don't forget, you can zoom all the way out and you can find your way back to the start. That's it for this video. I hope it's been useful. I'll see you soon.